to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today, we uphold our ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit and the intent of the treaties with the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude for the opportunity to build a better community on these sacred lands for generations to come. And with that, I call the regular council meeting of December 16th, 2025 to order. The first business is the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to move item 6, closed session personnel, to after item 10, reporting.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Council, any comments, any thoughts? Councillor Dunn, your mic is on. Can you hit your button, please? Thank you. All right. Seeing none I call to order the council. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see. The council move. Thank you. The council move item 6, closed session personnel, number 11 on the agenda, to following reporting. And with that, I call it to question. Council, please vote. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Next order of business is council minutes for adoption. Council? Right. So now we have to adopt the agenda as amended. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to move that we adopt the agenda for the December 16th meeting as amended.
Right. We have a motion on the floor. Councillor Nelson.
Thanks. I believe I have my button on, but I will vote against it only because I wanted to add a second personnel item to the closed session. Thank you.
Through the mayor to members of council, if there's no objections to withdrawing the current motion, then we could deal with that amendment and then we could bring that one back to the floor.
Councillor Nelson.
I'd like to move to add a second personnel closed per section 19 of the ATIA. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor of the council. Add 2Ds, please. A second closed session item number 2, personnel closed per section 19. Any comments, thoughts? Seeing none, call it to question. All right, that's approved unanimously. Councillor Chambers.
Now I'll move that we accept the agenda for the December 16th council meeting as amended.
Okay, council, motion on the floor. Any comments, thoughts? Seeing none, I call to question the council adopt the agenda as amended. Please vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, council, now we can approve the minutes from the previous meetings. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to move that we accept the regular council meeting of November 4th, 2025 and December 2nd, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting of December 9th, 2025 as presented.
Council, we have a motion on the floor. Councillor Dunn. Oh, Hit your button, please. All right, we have a motion on the floor that that council adopt the minute meetings from the regular council meeting of November 4th, 2025 and December 2nd, 2025, and the committee of the whole meeting of December 9th, 2025. Please vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you, council. Next, we have minute with council. Is there anyone in council chambers today who wishes to speak? Anyone online?
No, there is no one registered this evening.
Thank you. Next order of business. We do have a delegation today, so I welcome the Town of Hinton Library Board. And please, when you're speaking into the mic, just so the people at home who are watching can hear what's going on.
Sounds good.
Shall I get started?
Please.
Awesome, thank you. Well, if I might introduce myself, my name is Sue Armstrong, and I'm the chair of the Hinton Municipal Library Board. And along with me today is
Shannon Schott, I'm the library manager. I believe I've met some of you already, so it's good to see you all again.
Great. I also would like to acknowledge that we have 3 other board members in the audience with us today. Mike Story, Jace Rush, and Lila Moselle are also on our library board, and they're here today to support us as well.
Thank you.
So we understood at the committee of the whole meeting last week that council is thinking that they'd like to reduce the library board's budget for the library for 2026 by 20,000. But when we were reviewing council's notes from that, we understood that council, it was suggested that our 2023 allotment from council was in the neighborhood of 488,000. As that turns out, and as per, I think, the enclosure that you have in your package today, the amount that we were actually asking council for, or what we needed to operate the budget, was 548. And again, this is the 2023 numbers. But as part of that budget, and through an agreement we had with council at that time, we were using 60,000 of our reserves for that as well. And so I think what we need to recognize is that there's a cost to running the library. And in 2023, we were requesting that our funding requirement was 548. And that really, I think, makes a difference in the perception of council when we're now looking at what we're requesting for 2026. Because certainly the difference, if we were looking at it, would be a significant percentage, where in reality it is not that great. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that you're able to make your decision based on the actual information. So I'd like to turn it over to Shannon, if I may, so that we can continue the conversation about why we're looking for the additional 38,000 this year compared to last year's request.
Thank you. Yeah, so first of all, I just wanted to thank all of you for giving us an opportunity to come here and speak to you about our budget today. I'm here today to ask that council reconsider the $20,000 cut in funding for the library, as this money will allow us to maintain higher standards for health and safety. My priority here today is to advocate on behalf of my staff and to ask for this money in order to ensure that my staff are not at risk of working alone. The library is open 7 days a week, and the most vulnerable times for working alone are those weekends and in the late evenings, as we're open till 8 p.m. on weekdays. The major factors that are, affecting this risk are things like staff illnesses, staff vacations, scheduling of other library activities such as programming, outreach, professional development. It's not unusual for these things to coincide in unexpected ways that can't always be fully planned for. And with a small team, it means that sometimes there's simply nobody to come in and cover for those shifts. For a fairly minimal increase in our budget, this part-time position has hugely decreased this risk, and we've not had a work alone scenario since having someone in this position for the last 6 months. My concerns for the health and safety of my staff are also affected by the rise in challenging behavior at the rec center, which has included things like vandalism, property damage, belligerent patrons, things of that nature. While these issues haven't been as prevalent at the library yet, we do face some challenging patron behavior as well, and it's often in those vulnerable hours of the evening when they can come to a head. Ensuring that there are always at least 2 people closing, especially in the winter when it gets so dark so early, is my priority in protecting the staff from the risks of dealing with unpredictable patrons. There are other benefits that I believe have been mentioned to council in previous meetings. I know that this council values the importance of accessible local history, and this funding also helps support that accessibility. We are so lucky to have an archives in this town and to have trained library staff who are knowledgeable in providing research assistance. We are one of the only public libraries to have archives and archival services. Sufficient staffing allows us to continue to offer the service to our community, helping to digitize photos from the creation of the mill, sifting through the microfilm of our earliest newspapers for articles and photographs, digitizing a VHS tape to ensure copies are accessible to future generations. It's the only place in town where people have this kind of access to the direct history of their grandparents, to the original documents of those names that have shaped this town, the Hazel Hart's photographs, Tom Peterson's research notes, the Hinton Parklander. We want to continue to provide this service and this access to the community as we know how valuable these resources are to the people in this town. And we're grateful for the support of the municipality that empowers us to do so. In conclusion, this request would have a huge effect on the library staff, not only for the quality of the services that we provide, but also for the level of safety and security that those who work at the library will have going forward with a staffing level that minimizes vulnerabilities. Thank you.
Anything else?
Questions?
Council? Well, with nobody in queue, I would like to thank you for taking the time. You are correct. That change, that mathematical change makes a big difference. And, you know, the job is to balance things, but I know that there's a lot of citizens who see the value in the library. It's important. And so I thank you for your time. Council, can I get a motion to receive the delegation as information? Counselor.
I'll make the motion to receive the delegation for information.
And I said this the last time, that is not a disqualification of the information in any way. We will take it on. There's going to be lots of discussions coming. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for hearing us. Thanks.
All right, Council, we have a motion on the floor to receive the delegation as information. All right, I call that to question. Please vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. And then on to the work this evening. Our action items 7, well, I guess it's 6.1, which is the 26 to 30 capital budget.
And through the mayor, I will pass that on to Ms. Bourbeau.
You.
Thank you, Council. Before you this evening is the 2026-2030 capital budget. Documentation outlining all of the capital project plans, and the initial version of the budget was presented first to Council on November 18th and 19th during the workshop settings. It was back before Council on November 25th where some additional changes were made, and we're now bringing forward capital budget totaling $14,892,908. That does not include the arena court surface. We did remove the government center roof repairs. We also removed the replacement of one of the light duty vehicles. The scope of the Bradwell Park playground was also reduced, and we are referring the mascot replacement to the Hinton Youth Advisory Council to bring forward recommendations in 2027, and a decision or a request to phase the replacement of fire hydrants over 4 years was also done by administration prior to returning this document to Council. Carry forward projects in this document total just over $12 million. There is some grant-specific projects on the Beaver Boardwalk that will not proceed until grant funding is in place. We also have commitment letters for the Stave Line backup power projects and the Happy Creek culvert replacement. Remaining projects will be funded through reserves, and no new borrowings were identified for the 2026 projects. Of the new projects contained in the budget for 2026, they total $2,507,908. Of that, $1.5 million will be funded through grants and $598,000 through reserves, and a small $300,000 project, which is tied to cost sharing and will not proceed before returning to council. And with that, I will take any questions from council.
Council. Seeing no one in queue, then I have a couple of questions. So the Tamarack rehabilitation, there's $910,000 in there, but listed is that's going to be paid for from future reserves. Wouldn't that be, how are we paying for that this year?
So through to council for the Tamarack project, the budget approved in 2025 was funds for the engineering report on it. That still has yet to be completed. So this is where it was noted as future reserves, as there will be other years. We'll be putting money into reserves before we're asking council to approve that project. That will be coming back to council for further discussion.
And through the mayor, members of council, just to add on to that, the Tamarack, we wanted to see what could be done or what should be done with that prior to this. We wanted to include it in the budget because that is what our future capital plan had dictated for 2026. But once we have that report and we know what the scope of that project is, we will be bringing that forward to council prior to proceeding to doing anything with Tamarack. Similar to the Happy Creek culvert, that's a big portion of the 12.3. So 3.5 we do have in there for the Happy Creek culvert replacement. $3.5 million with the potential for that is grant funded. We don't know for sure if that is going to proceed in 2026. Our strategy is that we're going to piggyback with the province when they do their portion of the culvert, and when they proceed with that project is when we're planning on doing ours. We believe that's likely to occur in 2027, given the status of that project. But we wanted to make sure that we had it in the budget. So if it was to occur in 2026, the funding's available and we can work with the province and complete our portion as well.
Thank you. And I have one more question, and I think I know the answer. So with the water meter replacement, it says looking for future grants. Currently, we're funding that through borrowing. Is that correct?
Through to all of council, yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
The application has been put in and we should receive those funds in January.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? How do we want to proceed? Councillor Nelson.
I'd like to move that council adopts the 2026 to 2030 capital budget of $14,892,908, which includes carry forward projects and new projects. If I could briefly speak to it, really looking forward to getting more set and understanding kind of what our longer term infrastructure management and asset management looks like. But I think we've done a good starting point for our first kick at it, and look forward to future discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Seeing no one in queue, then I call to question. The council adopts the 2026 to 2030 capital budget of $14,892,908, which includes the carry forward projects and new projects. Council, please vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. And before we move on to the next one, I got to go grab my glasses. I was on my computer and I left them laying beside my computer and I'm struggling like hell up here. So if you could just bear with me. Our next item is the 2026 operating budget and the 2027 to 2029 plan. Council, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Mayor, I will turn that over to Ms. Barbeau to give a short synopsis of the current plan as it sits.
Thank you, Council. The operating budget for 2026 and the plan for 2027 to 2029 is before you this evening. The operating budget for 2026 totals $7,347. Again, the information came first to council on November 18th and 19th. You were presented the operational business cases in addition to all of the numbers that totaled this large amount. There was some back and forth on some different revisions, but the document before you this evening includes the collective bargaining through to the addition of Community Futures Agency. This is the short table highlighted on page 25 of the agenda package. And the amounts in green are indicating the funds or where some of the new monies are coming in order to offset the potential tax increase on this. As presented, with the option chosen for modernization of the recreation center, the $1.4 million going into reserves brings us to a potential estimated tax increase of 12.11% for 2026. That number will not be finalized until we receive all our assessment data and we've been able to do all of the analysis. And with that, I will leave this open to any questions from council or comment from CEO Panasic if I've missed something.
Anything? Councillor Chambers or Charlton?
Thank you. Just looking for a little bit of clarification under one-time operational projects. I see under draft budget 2026, the 452,575, and then under plan 2027, the 52,195, and then 0 for 28, 0 for 29. Can you explain why there wouldn't be like a contingency or something that would carry forward? Like how do we come up with the 52,195 for 2027?
My apologies. I do not have that exact detail, but it would be projects that were going to be put in, and projects are put into the operating budget as one-time projects. So they're easily able to be identified and we don't continue inadvertently coming forward and asking for that money year after year after year. So in 2025, one of the large projects was the software implementation and it had a budget of 400,000. We are not fully done with that implementation. We still have over $200,000, so that does make up part of that. And I'm just not recalling off the top of my head what project was for the 52,000 in 2027, but I could certainly bring that forward at another time for council.
And just can I follow up? For the 2028 and 2029, would that be normal to put those as 0, or would there be a contingency or something that we would put in there?
Through to all of council, not necessarily a contingency, but as we're going through and building the budget, that would be the time would we would be identifying any new one-time projects that would be bringing forward for council consideration.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question, I guess, and I think it's pertinent this year because there's been a lot of discussion of what the budget's going to look like next year, given the discussion as it relates to the rec center. But when I'm looking at our line for salary, wages, and benefits, we have the number we're looking at this year, and then for the next number of years, we don't even get back there again. And it's a substantial move because, you know, it's almost $500,000 drop going into next year. Is there rationale behind that, or is it?
Through to all of council, so salaries, wages, and benefits, and obviously my math did not work on Plan 2027. There was a small incremental increase built through on all of them. What we don't want to do is go in on a very high trajectory showing all of the years, because even though we have a plan which is meant to identify and keep top of everyone's mind that we don't operate solely just year by year, that we have to plan for the future, we don't want to also give the illusion that costs are forever going up. Now, we do have some positions that potentially are not moving forward depending on strategic planning. So that would be a part of the decrease. We have it built in for part of the year. Why it is at the 13 million right now, I would have to look into that and see exactly what I had taken out of there.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. I don't have any question, but I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to reinstate the $20,000 to the library budget that was removed last week. And for the reasons that the delegation explained.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any thoughts, comments? Councillor Nelson.
I struggle to reinstate. It's one of the bigger increasing percentage things on our budget, but I had more of a clarifying question. When we did our rec center tour and some of the conversations since then, there's been a lot of talk about upgrading security cameras and procedures at the recreation center. I'm just curious where that is currently, when that will be instated, and what impact we feel that might have with some of the behaviors that you guys are expressing during your delegation.
Through the mayor to the rest of council, I can speak specifically to the recreation center that process has already begun with cameras being installed and cameras being utilized. I received an update, it would have been last week, with respect to the quality of the imaging with the cameras. I'm not sure that the project is complete at the rec center, but it has begun and it should be complete in due course here.
Good.
Can I follow up?
Please.
And I imagine there's analysis of it, but what overall is it more of a reactive thing or proactive thing? Like, would it be reasonable to think that what we're doing with the security systems and processes at the rec center would help reduce the number of people coming and expressing bad behavior, and whether that would spill over to the library? And if you don't know the answer, that's because it's a lot of hypotheticals, but thank you.
Through the mayor to the rest of council, I can't comment on crime prevention through environmental design. A big part of that is implementing devices such as security cameras to your facility to prevent occurrences from occurring. So yes, it would be a deterrent for certain individuals for certain behavior if they know that it's possibly being video recorded and the video recording is such that it will identify that person. It definitely has that potential. It would not eliminate all behavior, of course, but it would serve as a deterrent for some. As far as the cameras and staff, it just is another tool for staff to be able to monitor things within the building. It is a large building with a lot of areas, and this camera does allow staff members to watch the cameras live and also to do follow-up should there be an incident or vandalism, that they are able to pull the video and provide that video to the proper authorities.
Just one more follow-up.
Please.
Thanks for your latitude. And the recreation center security camera, that is not extending into the library, correct?
Thank you for the nods and the smiles through the mayor to the rest of council. The answer to that is yes, it is extending into the library.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, thoughts? Seeing none, then I call to question the council. No. The council reallocate the requested $20,000 to the Hinton Library Fund to the requested amount of $625,811 for the 2026 budget year. And with that, please vote. And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. Now back to the operating budget. Council? Councillor Nelson.
I would like to move that council approves the 2026 operating budget of $37,027,347.
Is that the adjusted amount?
By my math, that's 20,000 more.
Cool. Okay, council.
Sorry, if mine is only the first part of the motion, not the forecasted one.
Understood.
I think I've spoke to it lots at other meetings. Very few operational increases. We're finally getting to where we're funding the rec center to a point where progress could be made on it, whatever that looks like. And I think we've gotten to where we can get to, and I'm confident that this is a good budget, and look forward to seeing futures and other impacts that we can find to make sure that our taxpayers aren't facing the same types of increases they're facing this year. Thank you.
Councillor Dunn.
No, I was going to do, I don't know why.
All right, council, we have a motion on the floor. Any other comments as it relates? Seeing none, then I call the question. The council approves the 2026 operating budget of $37,027,347. Right. And with that final wave, that's passed unanimously. Thank you. So we have a bit of work left to do then. How do we want to proceed? Councillor Nelson.
Yeah, and this being our first budget process, I'm kind of curious what our options are. Looking at the baked in addition of 1.2 million for recreation center funding for next year, we're still looking at a municipal tax increase of another basically 1.2 million. even though salaries and wages are down. And I'm not comfortable signaling that we're okay with basically a 16% tax increase next year. I also might be missing something. We've put so much focus on next year's budget, and we really haven't had a look at this 27 to 29. And I'm just not sure how to move forward. I would love to spend some more time with this before it's approved, but I don't know if legally we're required to pass something in 2025 or not. So.
Thank you. Can we get some counsel? Some counsel for council.
Yes, through the mayor to members of council. So just a few things, and to answer an earlier question related to the salary, wages, and benefits. So part of the reason that I was going down, we already, Director Borbeau mentioned the strategic projects position that is going away. The other one is the intern position is going to expire by the end of this year. The other big one is the WUI team, which makes up 4 additional staff members within our fire department. That's all set to expire by the end of this year as well. So right there, that's about 6 positions due to expire. Those are grant funded primarily. So it's not going to have, a large desired effect on the bottom line when it comes to our budgets. But when it comes to the forecasted amount, this is something that we include the pieces of information that we know are set for certain years, and with council's direction to include that for 27. It does not mean that we're committing to anything in any future year. Each year has to be looked at specifically by council in the year that we need to pass it. So these are forecasted amount. This isn't something that council should feel at all tied to in future years, but it is a good way of tracking the commitments that we've made in future years. But obviously that balance and how we determine how we move forward in the year of is always at council's discretion during that annual budget process. But this is required to pass prior to the end of by the end of this year in order for us to be compliant.
How do you want to proceed, council? Councillor Chambers.
I think with that explanation, I'd be comfortable making the motion that council approves in principle the 2027 to 2029 forecasted operating plan. And just to speak to it, I think that does make sense. I agree there's a lot of work, that we need to do as we go through strategic planning. We've got a lot of decisions to make, those type of things, but I'm not uncomfortable with what I see on that spreadsheet. I think the majority of it makes sense and is not a big shock. So I'm comfortable making the motion that we would move ahead with this tonight.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Any thoughts? I guess I'll make a comment, and I'm along with Councillor Nelson. It seems to happen every year, is that this thing just ends up being what it is. And I know we have to pass it, but at the end of the day, I would sure like to, I don't know if more of an opportunity to have a look at this in the future, because I'll tell you that the indication out to the community isn't going to be what's that, another $2.3 million increase next year. It's not in the cards. And I think if we're going to use this as any kind of a guide, and it's not just a waste of everybody's time, I think we do need to spend a little more time having a look at those future years. And I know there are projections, but I mean, and I'll say it to the community now, that's not going to happen next year. And I don't know what kind of a message it sends, but given where we're at now, I will support the motion on the floor, but with a bit of upset tummy doing it. Council? All right, seeing no one else in queue, then I call the question. The council approves in principle the 2027 to 2029 forecasted operating plan. Please vote. And that is passed 6-1, and voting against is Counselor Nelson. And now we are on to action item 6.3, short-term rental bylaw 1162-2. Council? Hit your button once more, Gil. There you go.
Okay. I move that council direct administration to bring forward the short-term rental bylaw 1162-2 for a future regular council meeting with a proposed amendment to reduce, no, that's not right. Okay, never mind, scratch that. I'm just going to start over. I move the council amend the current cap of non-principal short-term rentals from 130 to 60. I'm bringing this motion forward because reducing the cap on short-term rentals helps safeguard housing availability for long-term residents by preventing housing shortages, preserving affordability, and maintaining community stability. It will also support our ability to attract and retain new residents and workers in Hinton. Our priority as a community should be ensuring housing is available for Hinton residents and for those who want to relocate here. I've heard firsthand of numerous cases where individuals considered moving to Hinton, but ultimately decided not to because they could not find suitable housing. I recently spoke with a local employer who said they previously had no difficulty recruiting employees to Hinton, but this has become increasingly challenging due to the lack of available housing. Residents expressed similar concerns during the campaign, including noise, crowded or unsafe street parking, poor property upkeep, and increasing pressure on rental prices. Leaving the cap at 130 allows for the potential removal of up to 80 additional homes from the long-term housing market. Since April of this year, STRs in Hinton have increased by 61%. Reducing the cap to 60 would not impact any existing short-term rental operators, and it would still allow up to 9 additional applicants to obtain a business license. Importantly, it will be far easier to lower the cap now than to attempt to do so in the future once additional licenses are issued. Numerous Canadian studies have examined the impact of short-term rentals. Research from both the University of Windsor and McGill University concludes that short-term rentals reduce long-term housing availability, increase rental prices, and disrupt neighborhood stability. For these reasons, I'm asking council to support this motion to reduce the cap on non-principal short-term rentals to 60.
Can we do some work on the motion?
If I could just prior, Councillor Dunn, are you okay with as it's proposed there? We did not come forward with the bylaw itself ready for the readings of the bylaw. But the notice of motion is for administration to bring back to a future regular council meeting with the bylaw prepared for readings with a proposed amendment to reduce the cap from 130 to 60. And there are likely some other regulatory things that we would need to consider when we're lowering the cap to a number that is, roughly speaking, 10 away from our current housing stock. We currently, to my knowledge, don't have in the bylaw how we haven't regulated exactly how we manage the cap once we're close, because with a cap of 130, we never had to do that. So there are some considerations of, does a license get attached to the individual or the home? Probably some other considerations about how we manage, a waiting list and different things like that. So we are recommending that if council wants to move forward with this discussion, that we look to the motion that has been provided, and then we can bring back a more detailed report with all of those other considerations.
So you're saying we can't vote on the 60 tonight?
Currently, we do not have the bylaw in front.
Okay. I
prepared for
misunderstood.
Amendment, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to read this again?
through the mayor, as long as what we have here as, that was the recorded notice of motion that was set to come forward. So if you're okay with that, then we could, we can simply move forward with that.
And what if I say no?
We can certainly look at bringing something else forward. We just don't have the actual bylaw itself here prepared for first reading to reduce the cap tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I was under the impression that I was able to do this tonight. Yeah. I don't know what to do now.
Councillor Charlton?
Yeah, I think this changes things a little bit because I was actually going to make a motion to amend your motion. So I'm not sure from a different number, but I feel like it's now not clear.
Councillor Dunn?
Okay, so can you explain what the next steps are to me then, please?
Sure. Through the mayor, members of council. So if we look to the motion as it's been proposed up on the screen there, really what we would do is if that passes, that would provide direction for administration to prepare the bylaw to come forward at a future council meeting. We would bring forward an amendment that looks specifically to reduce the cap, and anything else that might come along with the reducing the cap that we believe council should consider. And we'll table that for the 3 readings at a future meeting.
Okay.
I guess, given that discussion, I'm curious about a time frame then, given Councillor Dunn's position on this.
Through the mayor, I'll have to talk to staff on this specifically, but you know, we've talked about short-term rentals at length, and I believe that everything is more or less ready to go with the bylaw, with the cap at 60. This would occur in January.
Thank you. Councillor Charlton?
Just a clarifying question. If I understand this correctly, you're going to bring it back based on the number of reducing it to 60? Is that correct?
Correct. So if council approves the motion as it's been proposed, the next time you see it will be the short-term rental bylaw with proposed amendments that include reducing the cap from 130 to 60, and then anything else that we might not need to consider along with that. But that will come forward in an amended form with the bylaw will come forward in the amended form for council to consider and to approve.
So just to follow up, if I wanted to make a motion to amend that number, could I do that this evening?
Through the mayor, certainly can. If council approves this motion at a different number, then the next time you see this, it will just reflect whatever number council decides to. But you know, if this motion is moved by Councillor Dunn, it's now it's under the ownership of council, and council can make any amendments or do anything that they would like with it.
Well, you can't amend this motion, but you can make your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if I could make a motion to.
Okay.
No,
Sorry, if I can, through the mayor, just to make sure it's clear and to Councillor Dunn, have you made this motion, or are you?
Yes, at 60.
And through the mayor, and as that was the notice of motion put forward. So if we would like to discuss any additional numbers for this motion, that would just simply be an amendment.
And can I speak to that? Oh, I just want to say that 60 already leaves 9 licenses available, and any more that we add to 60 means those houses coming off the market.
Councillor Charlton?
Yes, I would like to make an amended motion to increase the number from 60 to 70 as, and if I could speak to that. Speak to that?
Yep.
I just feel, I mean, I respectfully understand where you're going with this motion, and I feel that the intent is there, and that we do need to take it very seriously for the housing crisis that we do have in Hinton, and to make that a priority. But I do feel that we are going to be having strategic planning coming up, and we need to take a much broader look at how we're going to handle our housing crises and what we're going to do with homeless and how we handle the short-term rentals. I don't feel that we've done enough homework on the effects that this is going to have on people that have made investments in our community, and given enough time to do some of that research. What happens to people that are going to sell a property that have invested in our community, and we haven't done the research to find out what the impacts are? I just feel that the number is way too close, and it hasn't given enough time.
Councillor McDonald.
I will be in full agreement with Councillor Dunn on this. I believe 60 is even too high. And one looks at the numbers of houses that we have in Hinton right now. We have 58 listings on MLS right now. 12 of those are just land. We have a major housing shortage in Hinton, and it needs to be addressed. And I believe the first priority here is through short-term rentals. And I agree with the number of 60. Thank you.
Councillor Nelson.
Yeah, speaking just to the amendment on the floor, I want to support the main motion, and with that in mind, I'll support the amendment. I would rather have admin go off, make one change to a bylaw, similar to we have with the procedure bylaw, to add minute with council. If we're looking at, who owns that license, should we be looking at how many per community? And if there's new, should priority go to first applied or most rooms added, or, a community that doesn't have it or closest to a highway? Like, there's a lot to think about. And to me, if we start going down that process, it's not going to pass in one evening's readings, because it's going to require more public involvement in that, because it's going to really materially impact how how we manage things once that cap is hit. And to me, if we can't pass this in one meeting with something that isn't really changing the bylaw a ton, when we start talking about cap lotteries and all these things, that's going to require multiple meetings to pass, not one meeting like we did with minute with council. I feel like with 75, it takes us out probably till summer at least, to be able to have that broader conversation and better understanding for it. And so with that in mind, I'll support the amendment to 75. Thank you.
To 70. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you. I was blessed to be part of the original crew that came up with these numbers, and it was painful. And I think one of the biggest things is when we're making these decisions, I agree, obviously I'm in the world of housing and I understand that there's a ton of pressures, but when you're looking to people that are looking to create a business or to cultivate tourism or to do different things, if you can't explain to them the why you landed on that number, it's a really difficult conversation to have. And I know that because I had to try to have it in the past. I will support the amendment, but I don't support the motion, the original motion. And I believe that it is important for us to manage short-term rentals within the community. I don't believe this is the mechanism we should be using at this moment until we go through and have that fulsome plan of, to Councillor Nelson's point, what does this look like per community? What does this look like through the land use bylaw? What does this look like through a multitude of different things? Most of the complaints I've heard are about enforcement within communities, from noise and from parking and those type of things. We haven't seen a mad rush to the door where we're just people are buying up houses and there's nothing going on. I believe that was the case for a little while, but it does seem to have plateaued. I do think we've done a lot of work on understanding what's really out there, what's really in these communities, where they are. There is some concentrations in certain neighborhoods, all of those things. So I think that's there, but I don't believe that cutting this off at this point is the right move to make. So I will support the amendment, but I do not currently support the reduction of this at this time.
Counselor Dunn? Nope. One sec.
Am I on? As far as the number 60, to me, it gives 9 more licenses for people to go and get. And again, it's easier for us to reduce the number now than it is as we get more licenses. And referring to Councillor McDonald with the number, for a community of 10,000 people that has so many, like say 4,500 dwellings, a positive housing market has about 2 to 3% housing on the market, and we are well below that. So we are already in a housing crisis, and to increase this number to 70, which again is 10 more than what we potentially could have, I think is wrong. I think if we're doing this for our community, then we should be keeping it at 60. And I agree with Councillor McDonald. I think 60 is too high.
I would only ask council to make your point and then move on so that we don't end up arguing up here. So if we could stick to that, I appreciate it. Councillor Charlton.
Yes, I just wanted to have the opportunity to express as well that there needs to be plans put in place for those existing properties that are already short-term rentals and how those would be affected by selling and people purchasing those. Would those be grandfathered in? What are the ruling behind that? Have we communicated with local realtors to let them know where they sit from a liability standpoint when listing homes in Hinton? I just think that bringing the number up allows more time to do some of that research to be able to give us that gap to make sure that we're making the right decision, whether it's 60, 70, 80. I don't know what that number is, but I think that there needs to be more research put into this and putting some time to it. And I feel that that number gives us a little bit of time.
Again, please, council, once you've made your point, then you got to move on, or else it turns into an argument up here. And I don't know that serves well. Councillor McLean.
Yes, I won't be in favor of the amendment. I'm in favor of the motion. And just to visualize how many 80 homes are, you'd be looking at like taking half of Thompson Lake out of the equation off the market, right? How it affects anybody that already has an investment, I don't believe it does, right? Affect anybody that already has an investment in the short term. And I believe that the information that administration has supplied us over the last few weeks in the report, how most communities, if not all communities, are moving away from short-term rentals in neighborhoods, that they're guiding them towards commercial and high density. And I think that's what we need to look at. And I think that's a direction we need to go in. And I think 60 is a number that we can land on that is safe. And I think the more we go down this road in strategic planning, that the more we need to look at moving short-term rentals out of the neighborhoods. Thank you.
All right. I guess now I can have my say. I voted the last time to accept the short-term rental bylaw as it was to get to strategic planning. But given the motions on the floor, For me, it's a lot easier to raise the number than to lower the number. And so I will be speaking against the amendment, and look forward to that discussion when we get to strategic planning, which I do think is important. All right, seeing no one else in queue, then council, I call to question that council increase the non-principal residents from 60 to 70 residents. And with that, please vote. Yeah, we're just voting on the amendment. All right. Well, the amendment is passed 4-3, and voting against it is McLean, Dunn, and LaBerge. And so now let's move to the thank you. Are there any additional comments that people would like to make as it relates to the motion now on the floor? Seeing none, I call the question that council direct administration to bring forward the short-term rental bylaw 1162-2 to a future regular council meeting with a proposed amendment to reduce the cap on non-principal residences from 130 to 70. And with that, please vote. And that is defeated. Voting against are Chambers, McDonald, Nelson, McLean, and Dunn. So it stays at 130. Thank you. I think that's what happened the last time. All right. And with that, now that's the end of our action items, and we move into correspondence. 7.1 is the letter from the Grand Yellowhead Board of Trustees for the 2025 election. Can I please get a motion to accept this as information? Councillor Nelson.
I would like to move that we accept the correspondence as information. Thank you.
Great motion. Council. We have a motion on the floor. Please vote that council accept the correspondence for information. I'm guessing that's passed unanimously. All right. Any notices of motion?
There are none.
Then we move on to reporting. 9.1 council reports. And we'll start with Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While you were away at Evergreens orientation, I filled in as alternate to ARCH, which is the Attention and Retention Committee. Lots of updates on kind of current fundraising, current initiatives at attraction and retention, and then also a lot of discussion about kind of 2026 and what fundraising initiatives can look like. Then it's a big group of people all looking to try to be kind of the best community at attracting doctors to our community. So it's super, super interesting, and looking forward to hoping that you aren't able to go to more. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Oh, I got nothing to report.
Councillor Chambers.
Nothing to report.
And Councillor Charlton.
Yes, this past week I had the opportunity to attend my first Beaver Boardwalk Oversight Committee. A very, very eager group, very well diverse and knowledgeable about the boardwalk. There's a lot of work being done right now at the boardwalk because of the temperatures that is allowing the work to be done. And we're hoping to have a more updated report in the new year. So it's good.
Thank you. Councillor McLean.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Dunn. We'll get this mic figured out there. Oh, Jesus. There you go.
Yes, I attended Youth Advisory Council Adult Agenda Setting meeting. And at this meeting coming up on Thursday, we will be brainstorming with the youth to decide on a few projects that they can work on for next year, including the Athacat mascot. Thank you.
All right. And for myself, I would like to thank Councillor Chambers with her other hat on as the CAO of Evergreen, because I spent Thursday and Friday of last week on our board orientation. There was a lot to learn structurally, legislatively, and really understanding all the things that Evergreen does for our community, but really across the regions. Pretty excited to work with the board. Great board, knowledgeable. We've got our work cut out for us. One thing I did learn there, and I did take the time to post it on social media, but in addition to taking super good care of our seniors, Evergreen is involved in housing generally. And I'll put it out there to anybody who's listening who may be struggling with their ability to pay rent. There are some programs that are available through Evergreen. You would contact them directly. That's a service that they provide. But super informative couple of days, long days. I got a cold the day before. It almost killed me, but really had fun getting through it. So, and administration.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report.
Well, that was easy. All right. So, Councillor Nelson.
I'd like to move that we go into closed session with a 5-minute break.
All right. We have a motion to go into closed session with a 5-minute break. Council, please vote. Nope. Mine went away. I vote in favor of.
I wasn't against.
I'm assuming it's passed unanimously. And Sheila Danette, thanks for coming. Maggie, if I'll be around, we're not going to be long if you want to stick around. But with that, we'll take a 5-minute break.